Hello everyone, I'm Runal Mehta and welcome back to our channel digiate.com. We are your digital aid and we provide free courses on the subjects of business and marketing.
Let's start with a deep dive into pricing strategies. Now there are ballpark 8 of them, starting with skimming, penetration, everyday low prices, loss leader, captive, competitor pricing, yield management, and finally auction-based pricing. Now let's look at each of them briefly along with suitable case studies and examples, starting with the first one, that is skimming. The tactic of marketing and selling a product at its highest price willing buyers are prepared to pay while charging a lesser amount as time passes is known as skimming. It basically means introducing a product at a higher price. A firm may rate the item unreasonably high at first, but when new competitors appear and consumer surplus declines, the company steadily lowers its expenses until it can afford to serve price-sensitive customers. It works brilliantly with the originators of innovative technology. But the best example in this case is of Apple products, especially the iPhone. A new iPhone is typically priced high, and the moment the latest model is about to be launched, the old models are sold at a lower price. Moving on to the next, penetration pricing strategy. It is a practice of lowering the value of a product in order to attract new consumers by underpricing it during launch. This technique is intended to raise brand recognition since to low pricing, and once a manufacturer attracts consumer attention, it will keep those who accepted the product and at first chance even with the price increases. The goal here is of establishing the product's perceived value compared to its rival. And the best example in this case is of IKEA. Moving on to the next one is EDLP, which stands for everyday low prices. The phrase EDLP, as I mentioned, stands for everyday low prices. This technique isn't appropriate for all retail businesses, but is particularly common among companies like Walmart who operate in the retail business. This is because a firm must have certain other abilities to sustain low prices, which primarily bring money to the company. Walmart does this beautifully because apart from the fact that they operate with everyday low prices, they also operate on another funda of everyday low cost, that is EDLC. Moving on, Walmart has used the EDLP pricing methodology since its inception and it hasn't deviated from it. By lowering operational expenses and other charges, the firm has greater control over its cost. As I mentioned, the EDLC allows Walmart to handle expenditures while also providing benefits to customers. By purchasing products directly from manufacturers instead via middlemen who in turn reduce exorbitant prices, Walmart can further decrease cost. Maintaining low product prices implies narrow profit margins. As a result, Walmart's extraordinary sales volume helps to balance all of the other problems. So the rationale here is to sell at a lower price every day, but ensure that you bring in high volume for your company. The selling quantity is simply so massive that it allows the firm to achieve a very high profit margin even if margins are smaller. Moving on to the fourth one of a loss leader pricing strategy. Loss leader pricing is a retailing approach that involves selling one or more items at loss. This means that the store has to take a loss in order to attract consumers by offering items at an incredibly low price. The best example in this case are printers. The strategy has been standard in the printing industry for decades. Sell the printers at a discount and make money on the ink cartridges. In fact, HP revealed the size of its instant ink subscription service business, saying that it is now a $500 million annual business with a 30% annual growth rate. Moving on. For another example in the loss leader strategy is of gaming consoles. Launched in 2013, Microsoft's Xbox One held a production bill of $471 for manufacturing and materials compared to its launch price of $499. After considering the advertising, freighting and other operating costs, both Microsoft lost money on every dispatched console, but the rationale is the same. For Microsoft, getting people involved in the whole ecosystem is the main part of the business model. Thus, through introducing a console, even if it has a loss, it helps further cement that vision. In fact, Sony and Microsoft ultimately managed to sell their console at loss as they can recover their money via software and subscription sales. Again, a loss leader strategy. Moving on to number 5 of captive pricing. It works wonderful with the razor business. Razors are a good example of this method. The razor handle is the base product, while cartridges are the captive product in this case. The cost of a razor handle plus a limited number of cartridge is significantly less than a packet of just bundled cartridges which you buy on later. Moving on to the next product, video game consoles. Now your gaming consoles are the core product, but the game's extra controllers and rechargeable battery packs or batteries and other accessories are captive goods because they are highly required products. Same applies in the printer business. By offering a basic printer at an inexpensive price or even below cost while charging a higher price for the unique ink cartridges which are captive goods, the inkjet printer industry has taken this business model. Moving on to number 6, competitor pricing. In such circumstances, the pricing method implies that firms primarily vary their products' prices based on those of their rivals, for instance, Burger King and McDonald's. In oligopolistic sectors, companies that deal with items like steel, paper, or nitrogen generally charge the same amount. Small businesses follow the industry's biggest brands instead of fluctuating in response to change in demand or expenses. When costs are tough to quantify, competitive reaction is uncertain, then the going rate pricing strategy is a good solution because businesses view it as an evidence of industry-wise knowledge. Moving on to number 7 of the strategy of yield management. Yield management methods try to use past data and specialized algorithm as in formulas to decide the appropriate price to sell the inventory. This works beautifully in the service business. These methods work in real time and adjust rates based on demand, and it runs best in situations where demand exceeds supply. This strategy was first adopted by the airline industry, especially the United Airlines and American Airlines. It attempts to sell all the accessible inventory and leverage maximum profit possible. For instance, airlines have a number of seats available on a plane. If any seat is unsold, the airline loses its ability to ever make a profit on that seat again. Now, yield management here just tries to sell every seat at the best price possible. Same applies in the hospitality business. Considering the hotel industry, this approach suggests selling the right room to the right guest at the best possible time for the highest amount in order to maximize the revenue earned. Ideally, there's a software available for yield management that is adopted by the hospitality and the airline business. Moving further, examples of yield management. American Airlines has adopted yield management system for a revenue jump of $500 million per year. Delta, on the other hand, used similar system to boost its revenue by $300 million a year. Hospitality major Marriott uses these practices for extra revenue of $100 million per year. Therefore, travel bookers too use yield management methods to make the best possible revenue from their holiday packages. Moving on to a last pricing strategy, that is the auction type pricing. Such type of pricing involves a process of purchasing and selling the offerings of the firm by putting them out for a bid. An offer to spend a certain amount of money on anything that is being sold is called a bid. This type of pricing is more popular, especially among electronic marketplaces selling things from apparels to used vehicles. The method of pricing in which a firm sells its products to a buyer at an agreed price is known as auction-based selling. The 3 most common types of auctions are ascending bids, descending bids, and sealed bids. Let's look at each one of them briefly, starting with ascending bids. This features one dealer and multiple players. Sellers put out items on online sites and bidders raise their offer prices until the best value is reached. The most high-priced bidder gets the item. Descending bids. This type could have either been one dealer and several buyers or one buyer and several dealers. In the first case, the seller declares a high-end price for the product and then gradually reduces the rate until a bidder accepts. In the second case, the buyer declares something he or she desires to purchase and the potential dealer strives to offer the lowest rate. And finally, sealed bids. Here the provider offers only one bid and are unaware about other bids. Governments across the globe frequently use this technique to obtain suppliers to give licenses. The supplier does not bid lower than its cost, but also cannot bid too high for a fear of losing the bid. A similar type of case study, in this case, UAE's famous restaurant Ravi Eatery's limited edition Adidas shoes being resold for up to $12,000. We have covered this in our branding module of Adidas paying homage to one of the famous restaurants in UAE, the Ravi. In this case, the sneakers that were designed by them were bought by customers and then resold on other social media sites. Limited edition Adidas shoes designed and manufactured in collaboration with popular UAE-based restaurant Ravi are being sold for up to $12,000 on the internet. Customers in the UAE waited in line for hours to purchase the newest sneakers within a series of shoe honoring important restaurants from 11 cities around the world. Purchasers who had been waiting in line for hours before the store opened at 10 a.m. quickly uploaded photos of their $150 sneakers on Dubizzle and Facebook Marketplace sorts of retail apps and sites. Though some of those were available for between $250 and $1,900 and about $1,000, one of the sellers were trading the limited edition sneakers on Facebook Marketplace for about $12,000. Now moving on to a case study of pricing. In this case, Tesla, Ford and General Motors raised their electronic vehicle prices. High gasoline prices are prodding more people to consider an electric vehicle, but car shoppers are likely to face sticker shock at the dealership too. Automakers have been raising prices of the electric cars, partly to offset the soaring cost of material used in their large batteries. General Motors tacked on about $6,250 to the price of GMC Hummer electric pickup truck models, which now range from $85,000 to about $100,000, citing an increase in commodity and logistics cost. The waiting list for these recently released trucks is about 2 years, a General Motors spokesman said. Similarly, Tesla this year has increased prices 3 times for a performance version of their top-selling Model Y SUV, adding a total of about 9% to the sticker price, which is now about $69,900. Overall, the average price for an electric vehicle in the US in May was up by 22% from a year earlier at about $54,000. By comparison, the average price for an internal combustion vehicle increased 14% in that period to about $44,400. Profit margins on electric vehicles are small relative to gas-powered cars because the cost of a large battery pack to power such vehicles was high before recent inflation, as much as 1/3 the total vehicle cost. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic on deep diving into pricing strategies. These are the list of sources and links referred to for our content in the video. Thank you and stay tuned for our more videos.